just going to go with that. A couple things to know about a die pick, especially if you have a craft pick. If you're going to use it for that, you can actually use a craft pick or a die pick, but the reason I have actually both tools is the die pick is designed at a tempered steel. So if you're using things like grunge board or chipboard in one of the steel wool dies, this is designed for this kind of motion, digging or picking motion. If you use just a regular craft pick, it's going to bend that metal. So that's why it's totally different metals when you're working. If you've tried using with another pick, you know what I'm talking about. Alright, so some tricks to the rosette. If you're going to work with a rosette, what I suggest is actually turn it over and go in with some sort of tape, whether it's tissue tape, whether it's scotch tape, anything that's going to be sheer enough that's going to stay flexible. If you try to work with masking tape or duct tape, it's not going to work. And I just go in with a piece of tape, so tissue tape is going to work fine, and just go right along the back of it. And here's why. The decorative strip dies, because they are a chemically etched die, it cannot create a crease. In other words, the way this die is designed, it's not a blade system. It's actually artwork that's been etched away, leaving just a raised metal surface. So it's not actually a sharp blade like regular dies, and so it does more of like a cookie cutter process when you're actually going through and chopping out the paper. So every bit of metal is the same height, so you can't create a crease. The only way to create a fold is actually do perforation. And when you do perforation on paper, it's perforated. It's going to tear apart. So I think having that little bit of tissue tape on the back is going to help. So I'm just going to tear off the excess. Hey, Tammy, is that craft sheet still here? So I don't want to glue on a cutting pad. Yeah. That craft sheet.
Yeah, I used a cutting pad. Don't glue on a cutting pad.
Thanks. Because hot glue doesn't come off a cutting pad. Just saying. All right. It will happen. So now I've got my piece, all right? And another cool thing is you can actually use this on the front. If you wanted it as part of your art, you could have put the tissue tape on the front too. So now we're gonna go in, you can see our little perforated lines. We're gonna go in and just start folding this. So I can accordion fold it. Now, when you're accordion folding, let me just show you a couple of things on this die. You'll see that the perforated lines, they end before they get up to that top part. So as I fold it, and I'll try to do this right here so you can see it, watch when I get to that large one. Notice that it's not designed to fold or crease all the way to the tip. So when you're folding it, just stay on the end. Don't squeeze these together because you'll lose the look of that snowflake, okay? Once you get enough paper in your hand, just let it go and then work in another section. And then let it go and work in another section. Sometimes people try to do all of this holding the whole thing in their hand at a time. As long as you make sure that you do a continuous zigzag pattern and you don't zig when you should have zagged, then you should be all right. So, when it's all said and done, this is what we have, a continuous zigzag once again, and we're going to glue the ends together. The glue that you want to use, work with whatever glue you want. If you want to work with glossy accents, if you want to work with multi-medium, but I'm just going to go in with just a little touch of hot glue because I have it. So I'm just going to do that, and I'm going to touch the two ends together. So you'll notice that they end going the opposite way. So it's really easy to just match those up. And I stick them together, and if we looked at the design as a whole, you can see that it actually has just that zigzag pattern going around. So here we go. When I go to make my rosette, I'm going to put this point side down on my craft sheet. And all you want to do is just gather around the top of it. I'll kind of move this down so you can see. When I gather around the top, I just take my fingers and you're going to group this together. If you grab it at the bottom, it'll tend to like bunch up at you. So sometimes people go, well, you know what, Tim, I struggle with that. Okay. Just go around first and maybe kind of tighten up those little perfs a little bit, because sometimes it just goes together brilliantly, and sometimes like on this one it's going to give you some grief, but once you get it, you'll see that everything just kind of wants to spread itself out. So here's what I'm going to do. When I'm ready to do my rosette, I'm going to go in with hot glue. I think this is so much easier. Working on a craft sheet, you're just going to go in and you're just going to put a blob of hot glue. Put that over your blob of hot glue. Go in, gather around the sides, and then you can cinch it all together right in that little hot glue. And this is much easier than using like a liquid glue or a glue dot or something like that, because that hot glue, you'll see that it kind of bubbles up in the center. So not only does it glue it from the base, but it kind of comes up on the inside and glues everything together. I can also go with a little touch of hot glue while it's here and use that centerpiece. So it actually cut out that little top centerpiece, and I like to offset that. we're just going to let that cool. So you can make all your rosettes and just leave them there on your craft sheet, and when the glue dries or it cools and you're ready to use it, it's basically just peel. There we go. You get the glue string. If you're a messy hot gluer like I am and you don't like glue strings, take your heat tool, wave over them, and they just disappear. They vanish. Yeah. So now I'm just going to pop this off. And there we go. There's our rosette. And you can see in the back, there's our glue. But look, if that was on the front, it's really nice how that tissue tape would add a decorative element too. So if you can make these, maybe you're going to do ornaments,